right, MetaMentors, September 1st, 2023. We got 4 hot stories. Like, comment, and subscribe. Please help us with our algorithm so we can continue to grow if you like what we're doing. Here's the stories. We've got Grayscale wins their initial judgment against the SEC on their Bitcoin ETF. What did that do? We've got Twitter starts their own crypto slanging. They're slanging crypto, or they're headed that way. Litecoin halving has passed and nothing happened. And last but not least, you want to stay tuned, the DEA is now funding crypto scammers. This is your MetaMentors Crypto Rewind and forecast for September 1st, 2023. Let's go. All right, just this week, Grayscale, or the judge, ruled in Grayscale's favor for the Bitcoin ETF. This is the initial ruling, putting the SEC back on their heels again. They just continue to take hits as far as this spot Bitcoin ETF. It is coming on strong. Let's hear from my good friend, Mr. Paul Barron.
Here for this year, I think that is the big factor that everybody's looking at. Here was a tweet coming in from Jake Stravinsky. This is the attorney over at the Blockchain Association. He had a couple of things that I thought were very interesting to break down. DC Circuit soundly rejected the SEC's view on the ETF. Proposal is not designed to prevent fraudulent and manipulative acts and practices. The SEC has spent a full decade denying spot Bitcoin ETF proposals under this reasoning. That's now over. So that's a huge statement. So what's the SEC going to do? Here's a few theories. One theory is the SEC will just pick a different reason to deny. That's a very good possibility. Will Chair Gensler really accept this loss? I think this may be one of those things where he is now scrambling to keep his job. This guy is starting to lose major, and this is not typical of the SEC. So they're basically picking the wrong fights. Another theory is that the SEC will take the DC court's decision as a semi-graceful exit from their anti-ETF position. Maybe that would be kind of the more cosmetic view for the political frontier, I think. And it could possibly be the route that the SEC does take here. Further into this, he goes, this isn't just about Grayscale, it's all of TradFi, which is ready for Bitcoin ETFs. Many other issuers have proposed ETFs this year, including BlackRock. Larry Fink throws heavy punches in DC. That is the bigger picture here. I think BlackRock is still the one that gets approved first. Now, do they do kind of a culminative approval around all of these ETFs who are coming up on a deadline here just in a few days? And what that might mean, if we are looking at this, there's going to be a lot of winners. Obviously, the one winner that is going to be happening out there is Coinbase and also Bitcoin. But the other factor that's going to play into this is, I think, Ethereum. And we'll get into a little bit.
Okay, so the judge rules in favor of the Bitcoin ETF. Great for Grayscale's bid for the Bitcoin ETF. Let's get into this article and see a little bit more details of what this may mean. Okay, on Tuesday, a 3-judge panel for the U.S. Court of Appeals delivered a crushing interpretation of the Securities and Exchange Commission's logic for denying an ETF, finding the agency acted capriciously and arbitrarily. I love some of the words. These words are way too big for me, but the judge did not pull any punches on this deal. So letting them have it. The judges granted Grayscale's petition for a review, meaning the SEC will have to review Grayscale's previously rejected ETF application and maybe come up with better reasons for denying it. So this is the initial one. Basically, the judge said, look, your reasons for not sending this Bitcoin spot ETF through is ridiculous. You need to put up a better argument, basically. So now will the SEC put up a better argument? Will they go back, look for some more flaws, or are they just going to roll over? That's the big question that everybody's wanting to know. SEC seemed unwilling to listen to the facts, like that spot and future Bitcoin markets are 99% correlated. And so the concerns it would raise to reject 100% of the spot market ETF filing don't make sense. So there's currently a future Bitcoin ETF that's out, that's available. That's been out for some time. And this argument is the spot Bitcoin ETF is 99% correlated. There's almost no difference as far as the risks are involved with the currency. The actual investments and what it means for the market and for us retail investors and institutional money, it makes all the difference, which is why we're pushing for that spot Bitcoin ETF. And so what happened today is important for two big reasons. First, ETFs are important because it increases the number of people who can invest in crypto. We've talked about this a bunch. We're talking about institutional money. There's potentially billions of dollars of capital sitting on the sidelines that would trade Bitcoin if it could be traded through a familiar stock exchange. ETFs are familiar with most mainstream investors. If Bitcoin was offered as an ETF, then potentially billions of dollars would flood in of investors who are just waiting for a method that they're familiar and comfortable with, as opposed to buying Bitcoin and getting it off the exchange. The whole thing that we're doing, Ben, that really is the way to go. But we're trying to attract the masses, and that's what the ETF does. Second reason, like the Ripple decision in July, the U.S. Court of Appeals has shown that the SEC is not ultimate arbiter of crypto. We've talked about this before. Getting the spot Bitcoin passed is a huge deal, but what's as big, if not bigger, is proving that the SEC is not the people who should be regulating cryptocurrencies, because there's all these other reasons. The SEC is not the ones that should be in charge of making the decisions on this. It either needs to be the Commodity Commission or possibly Congress, which this article talks a little bit more about. Responsible financial innovation bill moving through Congress. Okay, so this is the bill that's currently moving through Congress. Responsible financial innovation bill, that's the name of the bill, would raise up the U.S. Commodity Futures Trading Commission. So that's what I'm talking about there. This bill proposes that it's the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, CFTC. Man, a lot of big words in this article for me. That's who should probably be regulating cryptocurrency, especially Bitcoin, because it's already been labeled a commodity. The SEC agreed it's a commodity, so why the heck are they still trying to regulate it? It should be the CFTC. I will end on this. This is, I'm just going to read this. I love this part. Bloomberg editor Tracy Alloway once infamously called Bitcoin the ideal postmodern asset, meaning what it depends on is your point of view. Crypto allows people to map their desires onto assets. And so crypto is cash-like commodity money that resembles corporate equity. It's a meme, it's a movement, and it's also a tool. It's the interface for the next generation of the internet and backbone to ultra-modern financial architecture. It's basically for everybody. Crypto is a bundle of contradictions. If you're wondering why crypto and Web3 and all this stuff has been so hard to wrap your head around, it's for many reasons, but one of the main reasons, like this article is saying, is it means something different to everybody. And it's because, again, the technology is so innovative, it is attacking all these different areas, which makes it hard to wrap your hands around. But that's how revolutionary crypto, Bitcoin, all this stuff is. It's changing the game for everything, which makes it a little bit hard to wrap your hands around. Also, a very good reason why the SEC should not be the one trying to regulate this. So huge stuff going on here. I'll close with saying we're recording this a couple days before the first, but on the first is the first Bitcoin ETF, spot ETF due date for the SEC to decide if they're going to pass it or not. So that's this Friday when you'll actually see this episode, but also the next one hits the 2nd and the 3rd and the 4th. So over the next few days, the SEC is going to have to decide, do they want to approve some of these Bitcoin ETFs, or are they going to, basically push it down the road? Because they can still push it down another like almost 200 days. So we might get an answer. We might see the market spike just like we saw over the last couple of days. It jumped from 26 to 28,000. We're back down to 27. Or the SEC might push it down the road. So a lot happening like always in Bitcoin.
And like you were saying, if you're a little confused on what exactly is crypto and Bitcoin, I know there's still a lot of people in mine and Ryan's, tight circles who are still a little bit confused. We're still a little bit confused. But if someone who's an editor of a news report that it's their job to explain what crypto is, calls crypto a bundle of contradictions and gives 3 or 4 different definitions for it that are different for every person who looks at it, it's okay to be a little confused because everybody's confused. Because like Ryan was saying, it's not one thing. You can't draw the picture and say crypto is a new form of money, because really it's actually a new form of software. But actually it's a new form of, holding on to value, or it's a new type of this, or it's a new type of that. It's so many different things that if you're confused about how to narrow it down into one sentence, you're in the same boat as everybody else.
Yeah.
We're all confused.
Yeah, we are. It is as simple as buying Bitcoin. I think that either this next episode or next couple, I'm going to actually create a list of what Bitcoin is currently doing. Some of the things from currency to wealth holding to
Store
technology,
value.
security. Yeah, like everything, because there is so many things, but never a dull moment with Bitcoin.
Cool.
I got going on this article and I completely forgot that Mr. Paul Barron actually had a couple other short clips. Let me sneak these in real quick. I think you're going to like this because this kind of goes right into some of the stuff you're getting ready to cover also.
Actively buying up publicly miners for their index funds on behalf of clients. They aren't actively buying miners to flip them at profit for their own books. So this is another scenario that plays into this. Riot, of course, Marathon, Cypher. Hade's not in the play here, but TerraWolf. TerraWolf we've had on the show before.
So slightly change, a little bit off topic, but I wanted everybody to see that BlackRock is not only are they trying to get their ETF passed, they are aggressively buying stock in Bitcoin mining companies. All right, now here, one more short clip here of some information I think you'll find interesting, Ben.
To store, transfer, and exchange Bitcoin and other digital assets for its users. This is going down the line that Elon, I think, has been considering for quite some time. Again, the technology has got to be able to handle this. And that's the other aspect that I think is still questionable around the Lightning Network and where that might be going. Hence why I'm really leaning in on ETH and do like that as a major asset. Doesn't mean I won't trade Bitcoin.
Okay, so Twitter getting in on the crypto game also. I think you got a little bit to share with us on this, don't you?
Yeah, we'll just go right into it. Let me bring it up.
Yeah, let me drop my screen. There you go.
Yeah, so Elon Musk, everybody knows he was one of the main founders of PayPal. And his original ideas for PayPal never really came to fruition before he was offered a life-changing amount of money to just get it bought out. So he had big plans. Really pre-crypto days, he was planning on banking the unbanked, making, cashless transfers like Venmo and all that kind of stuff, all the stuff that's everywhere today. He had big plans to do that, being able to get a mortgage through PayPal, all that kind of stuff, as well as the very low transaction fees and just keeping stuff on tabs on a book, but not actually having to move the money around. So he had a bunch of ideas to really shape up the traditional financial system. And then him and his partners were offered an exorbitant amount of money, and they went ahead and sold PayPal and went on to other things. But he always talked about in interviews since then, he's mentioned how he gave PayPal the idea, like he told them everything that he had planned and the direction he was headed, and they've sort of veered off into an internet digital payment service period. But rue is probably not the right word. He doesn't rue the day he gave, but he definitely has always kept that in the back of his pocket. And occasionally it'll pop up in interviews where he mentions that it didn't sit well with him, that it never did fulfill its full potential. So we all know that he bought Twitter, renamed it to X. And the reason he named it to X is because it's not just a social media site either. He's ready to turn X into the total internet application, the everything app, I think is what he calls it. And he wants to revolutionize social media. He wants to revolutionize content creation. And included in that is basically what he wanted from PayPal 20 years ago, that now the technology exists for him to put it into an app. So he's filed for a license. I think it was in Rhode Island, and Rhode Island has officially approved this license by Twitter Payments LLC, which is X the X Apps payment branch to provide wallets, payment processors, and crypto exchanges. So there's been some rumor that he was going to start his own coin to kind of compete with all that stuff. But he said he's very happy with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and of course Dogecoin. He likes all of those, all for their separate reasons. He just wants to really incorporate those into his everything app. So the first step is done. He's been approved a license. We're not sure exactly which direction he's going to take it, but imagine being on X or Twitter and seeing an app, or seeing somebody that you follow, like Paul Barron, and he says, "Oh, this is doing really good, and they're expecting to get an ETF started soon, and Ethereum's about to go up," and you can just go over to another tab on the same app, look at your wallet, and go, "Yep, I'm going to move over some of my fiat money, and I'm going to buy some more Ethereum, and I'm going to sell this and do this and move all that around with low fees, all in the same app with the security of a $44 billion company." It's just, he really does have his finger on the pulse of what young America wants. And by young, I mean under 40 and Ryan.
Yeah. Thank you.
But you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
they don't need, okay, well, I got to transfer it from Bank of America, so it'll take 3 days, and then I got to do this, this, and this. And with blockchain technology, you're able to do that like this. And what Paul was talking about was he wasn't sure whether the technology had caught up for the Lightning Network on the Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But Ethereum is there. Ethereum's there, and stuff like Solana, there are blockchains that are ready to do this, and he's got the app that already has the people. He's got it populated. It's the most popular app in the world. And so if he's able to pull this off, which, like I said, I feel like deep down, and you get the sense of it in some of his interviews, he's just not happy with the way the PayPal thing went down. And I think he's ready to do to traditional finance what Tesla did to the traditional auto market.
He's just truly unpredictable. I know there's a lot of discussion that he purchased Twitter, now X, because it is one of the largest sources of sheer information, up-to-date information at any moment, that that is going to be part of his whole AI system.
Yeah.
Also, so there, which I don't know about these things, but it totally would make sense. Like it's just, there's never a dull moment with him. I mean, he just is an impressive dude, the stuff that he's coming up with.
Yeah. And that's what, if you think about what Twitter is, and that is straight from the source, right, unfiltered thought from as many people in the world as want to use it. You know what I mean? Like it's not, 3 days later news article that's been tweaked and this and this. I mean, it was like, you remember when we had the president of the United States that actually tweeted himself, not a team of people that do the tweeting. Right. But when the president tweeted himself, it wasn't always impressive. There were misspelled words. There was like, oh man, what are you doing? Like, don't do that. Even if you were a supporter of that president, it was like, he's just being vengeful and hateful right now, but you're getting the unfiltered access to the direct thought of billions of people. And yeah, what you'll be able to do with that, if you own an AI company, especially one that's affiliated with Tesla, which, think about all the data that those cars have and all the computing power don't bet against Elon Musk. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm glad he's on my political side, if you can say that. Yeah, it's crazy, all the stuff that's happening. Well, moving on, you mentioned something about Litecoin, which we had a halving at the beginning of this month. We did an episode probably a couple months ago talking about Litecoin halving and about it coming up and what to expect out of it. And it is come and gone. It was on August 2nd, I believe it is. So the The reward per block is cut back to 6.25, was at 12.5. So it's in half now, which means miners make half of what they used to. And there's been a lot. For me, from what I've seen over the last couple months, there's been more back and forth on Litecoin than any other currency I've been following. And by back and forth, I mean from an onslaught of this Litecoin is going to be second to Bitcoin and taking over, and like it's going to be the main, the transaction volume is going to be the highest, all the way to Litecoin is on its way out. It's too cumbersome, it's all over the map. And depending on who you listen to, of course, Twitter or YouTube or whatever, you can hear all sorts of different things. But the point is Litecoin has done essentially what Bitcoin does every halving also. It gets to the halving and really nothing happens. And then within months afterwards, you see an explosion. Now, it hasn't been months. We don't know what's going to happen. But Litecoin, like many others, are still building in this bear market and going crazy. So there's still a ton of potential for Litecoin. And obviously being on the Bitcoin network, if Bitcoin grows, Litecoin is going to grow because that's the preferred payment system, especially for micropayments. But I just want to touch on this, that if you're following along here at the bottom of this article, it talks about, more importantly, crypto bull markets typically begin months after Bitcoin's reward halving, which is predicted to be next April 2024. The Bitcoin halving is usually 8 to 9 months after the Litecoin's halving. Bitcoin's fourth halving is due, like I said, April 2024. So basically it's saying, I wouldn't expect a whole lot out of Litecoin until Bitcoin's halving and Bitcoin starts to take off, because whatever Bitcoin does, everything else does. And Litecoin is built on that blockchain, that network. So just know that we talked a lot about Litecoin halving. It's come and gone. It's been nothing spectacular, but history tells us that you got to wait till Bitcoin's halving and really after that to see what's happening. So.
Well, and we've had a few things like the Ethereum merge. There's a few times, especially in the crypto world, when nothing happens and nothing is a good thing. nothing went wrong.
I hadn't thought about that, but yeah.
The bottom didn't fall out. People didn't give up on Litecoin. Nothing went wrong. It's like several times something will get locked up. I mean, we all know the disasters that have happened in the last 18 months with different projects and different coins, and Litecoin just chugs on. It did exactly what it's supposed to do, and it's just continuing on. The price fluctuates based on who's buying and selling, but if the underlying technology just does what it's supposed to, then that will be remembered when the market turns around and people start buying into it. They're not going to think, oh, well, remember how it handled the halving. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If things just do what they're supposed to, eventually the market and the money will keep up or catch up.
Yeah, that's a very valid point. We get in the zone of like we're wanting to see fireworks constantly, but no fireworks altogether. Like, when the Ethereum switched from proof of work to proof of stake, I mean, it was flawed. Nothing happened, and that was ideal. So,
right.
Speaking of technology, sometimes technology goes wrong or the user goes wrong, and you can have your crypto or your assets stolen, or sometimes you can just give it to the scammer. And in this case, one of the largest government agencies has recently given away some of their crypto, I understand.
Yes. Well, I like stories about this kind of stuff because I always look through it real quick to see if they mention Ryan's name. And if it doesn't, then I know we're in a good spot. If you remember at the very beginning, early days of this channel, Ryan broke every rule of moving crypto money.
As to which there's really only one rule.
There's really only one, and that's
you just
don't give somebody
break that rule.
Your 12-word seed phrase. And he was conned. They're very sneaky. They're not the people who are doing this, these con men. They know what to tell you. They know they can figure out very quickly what your level of crypto knowledge is, and they can attack it. Well, the DEA.
Before you get into that, we recorded this previous episode. I had a whole conversation that I recorded with this scammer, and we made a video of it. So if you haven't seen that and you want a good laugh and a good lesson, go back in our videos and watch it. It was April of last year, I think, 2022. Anyways, you can't miss it. I think we labeled it an MFer stole my stuff, but yeah, it's
right.
I probably ought to
link,
watch it myself.
I'll also link it at the end of this video. So the DEA is not immune to this process. And in fact, the scammers are so bold, they don't care if you are the DEA. They're going to do the same thing that they did to Ryan to these guys. So this is what happened. The DEA spent years on this, infiltrating this criminal underworld that was stealing crypto from all these people. They finally cracked it open, got the case, got access to the money, and they were like, perfect, we've cracked the case. We're going to move this money over to a secure U.S. Marshals account. So they sent a small, a test amount out. And while it was pending, a scammer saw it on the blockchain, saw it pending, and apparently had been following their wallet or their account, knew whose wallet was, or at least knew that it was moving money. And so then it airdropped them fake tokens, basically confirming that the money had gone in. So the DEA said, we're sending it to our actual wallet, and they did. Then the scammer, it's called address poisoning, and it's where you get a wallet where the first couple letters and numbers are correct, and the last couple letters and numbers are the same as the wallet you're sending it to. So if you're in a hurry and you just check the first ones and you check the last ones and you're like, yep, that's the account I'm going to. So they had that wallet ready to go, and they airdropped fake tokens back to the DEA and confirmed that they were going to the right address. So all they did was basically hit reply and dumped the rest of it, which was over $50,000 into this scammer's account. While they were waiting for it to go, somebody read the whole number and went, wait a minute, this isn't right. Realized they'd sent it to an address that wasn't theirs. And by the time they were able to do whatever the DEA does, that scammer had already broken it up and scattered it into the wind. And so they had originally seized $500,000 in crypto, and moving one of the coins over, they lost 50,000 of it to a different hacker. So I just wanted to talk about that because, one, if you're somebody who has been hacked, know that even the DEA gets hacked and scammed. And if you haven't, realize how good these guys are and make sure you know what you're doing before you're moving money, before you're bridging money, before you're, doing anything, or really even starting up a wallet. Because what happens with a lot of people is they'll start a wallet and very loosely jot down the notes or save it on a file on their computer, and it's not a big deal. But then over time, they start building up those accounts. And next thing you know, you've got a little bit of money in there that's worth something, but you've still only got the security that you put in when you were moving in $50 to see if it worked, And so then you've got those seed phrases written down somewhere or saved on your computer, and you're not paying attention, or at least the level of attention that you should. So even people like the DEA and Ryan can get scammed. So make sure when you're moving your money around to be careful, because the scammers are out there and they are good at what they do.
Yeah. And get it on a hard wallet. You still got to be careful, but then you have to have an actual hard wallet and the seed phrase to help, to transfer. But yeah, we'll just continue to hear more and more of this.
Yeah. And it's basically, because of the effect of it being like digital cash, it would be like people walking around with huge amounts of cash on them, which as a society, we've kind of gotten away from buying major purchases in cash or having large amounts on, because it is dangerous out there in the real world. So now that we're kind of going back to it, but digitally, we're back in the same risk, which is if somebody just gets you at the right time. If you're walking from your house to the bank and you're walking, early in the morning and you happen to have $50,000 in cash on you, and that's the time where some nobody comes up to you with a gun, you're not out pocket money, you're out $50,000. And so now that we're not in the digital, or now that we've gotten away from carrying cash, but we have the digital cash, if they get access to your account, they can get access to all your money very quickly. Yeah. So be aware of it and be careful.
That is this week's Crypto Rewind and Forecast. So unless you got anything else, Ben, we'll see you guys next week.
I do not.
All right. MetaMentors out.